Good evening, everyone. We're about to get started if you want to find your seat. My name is Scott Miller, and I serve as the superintendent of School City of Hammond. And let me be the first to welcome you to our beautiful new school, Hammond Central. Well, we've completed 1 year. We had an amazing commencement ceremony up at the Wolf Lake Pavilion just last week. And it was really nice to hear the stories from some of our students talking about how, the challenge of coming together. We have all the Clark students here, all the Hammond High students here, and a portion of Gavitt students here, and how that turned into a family over the course of the year. And so we're really excited for year two and what that means. I want to introduce a few people here on the School City side. Assistant Principal for Hammond Central, Mr. David Borsitz. Principal of Hammond Central, Mr. David Verda. And one of our Board of School Trustees, Ms. Carlotta Blake King. So before I turn over the mayor, I do have a little present on behalf of the Hammond Central administration. A complete amount of swag for you to wear everywhere on your campaign, all right?
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. I will wear it proudly. Before we get started, it's typical for us on the road, go around to each council district to introduce the host councilman and let the council person speak. So I'd like to give it up for our host councilman tonight, Councilman 3rd District, Barry Tyler.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out tonight in this heat. I was talking to somebody earlier, and they were complaining about the temperature, and I just told them that I remember 2 months ago when we were praying for this type of weather, given the amount of snow we were still getting. So I'm thankful. I'm trying to make the best of it and get my boys out in the water table in the backyard and just let them have fun in the sun. So thank you all for braving this heat and coming out to this year's 3rd District Mayor's Night Out. It's exciting to be in this school. I feel like I'm in here a good amount from various initiatives and also serve as a football coach here. For those of you who don't know, I was a football coach at Hammond High for 14 years and then transitioned over to the staff here too. So exciting to see the development here. I'm proud of all of these students that are walking these halls and what they've had to endure over the past couple of years with the pandemic, with the transition, with everything else going on in our country. And I know you guys I couldn't be there, but you guys, the inaugural graduation ceremony for Hammond Central was an amazing ceremony. So congratulations to all the students and all the parents for all the hard work that you guys put in to get those students across the finish line, given all of those challenges they were facing. I do have quite a bit of updates, so Mayor, don't get mad at me. I know that we're going to touch on these throughout part of the program, so I might just talk about it a little bit and then let the correct department head give you more of an update. But I've been fielding a lot of questions about several of these, so I just want to touch on them as we move forward and see. There's a lot of progress happening over our city, but specifically within our 3rd District. Just last week, we were at the Hudamaki ribbon cutting ceremony, or groundbreaking ceremony, to announce the $100 million expansion there that is going to equate to about 140 jobs, is that correct? 140 new jobs for our community. And the good thing about that, personally, is that there's already a ton of 3rd District residents that are working there. So it's exciting that we'll have even more jobs to support our community. As well as, I know the YMCA is probably going to come up tonight, so we can touch on that expansion too. But hopefully we'll see groundbreaking for the YMCA project in the fall. All right, you heard it from Phil, not me. So that's exciting too, because I know that will also create more positions and, of course, more opportunities for community engagement, for exercising, for learning, for curriculum, for student supports. So that's an exciting opportunity for our community as well. I know that there are flower beds throughout the community, and I think this fits into the beautification of our city that our Parks Department and Gary and his team have been focused on. So I want to thank them for cleaning up the flower beds that are located at Merrill and Howard Street, as well as the one located on Reverend Burns Drive. Excited to see the flowers finally blooming now that we really didn't have a spring, but it's summer and they're blooming in hopefully they hold on through this heat. I know some residents have been asking about that, and I will also say if you have flowers that you want to see planted there, I don't think the city would be upset if we added additional flowers and if residents help maintain that if you want to, but if not, we will have them taken care of as they need to get cut and cleaned. The other thing I wanted to touch on was just recently we had another conversation around Harrison Park. I know that people have been asking about when those improvements are going to come. We're still in the study phase, and I think I've tried to relay this since I've been in office, but it's going to take years for that project to come, to even start, and then, of course, to come to completion. We're probably talking about, where's Jim? What are we talking about? At least, I mean, double-digit millions to get that park where it needs to be. And so as of right now, we don't necessarily have a plan of where that money is going to come from or exactly what the full improvements will look like. But when the time comes, we'll start to engage the community to get your input on what you want to see there. We actually started doing that last year at one of the Harrison Park Community Watch meetings, and we took input from the community there. And so some of those suggestions are what we're looking into now. But the biggest thing there is trying to figure out the flooding issue because it still floods. There's still, of course, issues with the pond that we're trying to look into as well. But we're going to have to take our time and just make sure we get it right and make sure, of course, once we start it, we have the funds to complete it. So bear with us. But if you do have suggestions or comments, feel free to reach out to me or reach out to the Parks Department. We'll be happy to have a conversation about what we're doing there and what's to come. And then lastly, I want to just touch on, I said lastly, but it's like two more things. One is we just had the ribbon cutting at Jacob Square Park. I'm not sure if any of you have been able to make it out there, but that is a beautiful park. So thank you, Jim. Thank you, Mayor, for your contribution. Councilman Torres, councilman of our 2nd district, and I were also able to contribute to make that park happen. And I also want to say thank you to Jake Jacobs for his commitment to that community and that neighborhood. And for those of you that don't know, that neighborhood is actually named after him because of the work that he did. And so now we have a brand new pocket park that I've driven past and seen people playing there. So hopefully, once my boys get a little bit older, I'll be able to take them over there so they can enjoy that too. And then since we are here at Hammond Central, there are a couple things that I want to touch on in terms of collaborations with the school city. The first is this year we started a mentoring program for young black males at Hammond Central and at Morton High School. And really the emphasis around this program is to bring these young men together, get them introduced to people from their city who care about them, who want to offer them a network of support so that as they try to navigate all the challenges that life is throwing at them, they know that they have a strong support system here within the city that will help guide them through life. It's reminiscent of a program called Values that the late, great Dr. Jerry Watkins started back when it was actually before he was superintendent, so back when he was a principal at Eggers. I know he was a big part of that along with a lot of other men and women from our community. Probably a couple that are here, Ms. Albertine Dent. I know that you probably played a role in that, and Ms. Carlotta Blake King. So thank you for that vision. And we're excited. Like I said, it's a group mentoring program. So right now we work with about 50 students, and we're looking to expand that next year to bring in more students, and then to also try to incorporate our middle schools and our elementary schools as well. Because we know the earlier start, the stronger an opportunity we have to give those students for success, not just in school, but in life in general. And then the last thing I want to share is please continue to utilize the 311 app. If you don't have access to it, you can feel free to call me, and I will submit whatever it is I can on your behalf. I normally drive around and try to take pictures of things that I see and submit them. I know the department heads probably get sick of me in terms of how much I use that app, but it is a great way to communicate when you have something that needs to get done. So if there's large item pickups or tree branches or anything like that, please report that through 311. And our department heads and their teams are great at getting to that stuff, usually within a couple of days of you submitting it. And that also includes, we're going to touch on this later, but garbage cans. If you have garbage cans, of course, everybody in the city has garbage cans, but if you have them and you have an alley, or even if you don't, please remember that they're supposed to be removed from the street 48 hours after trash pickup. I've had a lot of complaints about people leaving their garbage cans, blocking the sidewalk, or even in the street. It doesn't look great. Sometimes they're broken down or laying down if the wind comes. So please remember to pull them back to your garage, pull them back to your house within 48 hours of your garbage being picked up, or you could be cited by code enforcement for that. The last thing I'll share is we are going to start a 3rd District newsletter. We realize that there's a lot of people who don't have access to social media or just don't want to be on social media. The sign-up sheet is back there at the table, so please include your name, phone number, email address, and we will get that newsletter out to you. It's also going to be published on social media, but just in case you are on Facebook or on Twitter, we can send that directly to your email inbox. Yeah, so that's a lot. Thank you for letting me speak. Excited to dive in tonight.
Thanks, Barry. Before you get started, I want to recognize the elected officials in attendance. As Superintendent Scott Miller introduced, Carlotta Blake King. Nice to see you, Ms. King. Of course, Superintendent Scott Miller. Thank you, Scott. Hammond's 2nd District Councilman Pete Torres. Good to see you, Councilman. Of course, Barry Tyler, Hammond's 3rd District. Hammond 6th District Councilman Scott Rakos. Councilwoman at Large Janet Venez. Councilman at Large Dan Spitali. North Township Trustee Adrian Santos. Good to see you. Oh, Hammond's 4th District Councilman Bill Emerson. Good to see you, Councilman. He's hiding down there. Nice to see you. Thanks for the elected officials showing up. It's great to see you. I'd like to introduce Eileen Ibarra. How's it going, Eileen? Eileen's our special events coordinator. Oh, she doesn't have a microphone? We have the microphone over here. We'll go ahead and introduce the department heads. Go ahead, Matt.
Matt Muta, Hammond Sanitary District.
Timothy Woods, Public Works, 3rd District.
Jill Gajewski, Port Authority.
Marty Wolgas, Hammond Sanitary District.
Jack Smith, Sewer Maintenance.
Chris Sakalaris, Hammond Legal Aid.
Owana Miller, Community Development.
Lavita Sparks Wade, United Neighborhoods.
Bob Vale, Building Department.
Carmen Paniagua, Housing Authority.
Africa Tarver, Planning and Development.
Dean Button, Engineering.
Kevin Smith, Corporation Counsel.
Phil Talon, Chief of Staff.
Scott Miller, Hammond Schools.
Ron Novak, Environmental Management.
Brian Poland, City Planning.
Ann Anderson, Economic Development.
Jaime Prieto, Water.
Nicholas Farrell, Code Enforcement.
Mark McLaughlin, Water. Kelly Kearney, Inspections Department. Jeff Long, Police Department.
Jeff Smith, Fire Department.
Jim Talon, Park Department.
Chris Campbell, Information Technology.
Sharon Daniels, Personnel and College Bound.
Hey, Eileen.
Hi, Mayor.
All right. Before we get started, I want to point out to everybody the obvious. It's 100 degrees during the daytime right now. We get heat indexes of close to 110 this time of year when it's so hot. Obviously, we haven't had any power outages, thankfully. But when we do have power outages, the city's ready to react. We do have cooling areas. Obviously, we have places like the Civic Center and the Sportsplex and things of that nature. If we do have a power outage, and we do have a large part of the city that's affected, look on gohammond.com. We'll be in touch with where the cooling centers are if that happens. So let's just keep our fingers crossed that doesn't happen. But this is, I don't know, we've probably done 150 Mayor's Night Out since I've been mayor. It's all generated by the written question. Where's the question sheets today?
Right over
With
here.
Eileen? Okay, and does Alex have some? Hi, Alex, how's it going? Look at that, she is not shy. Thank you, Alex, I appreciate it. So if you want to fill out a question, what we do is once we start a question, let's say the question's about traffic in a neighborhood or something like that. If you had a question about that, you could raise your hand and we'll come up to you. We stick a microphone in your face, not because we have trouble hearing you, it's because we're airing this live on Go Hammond TV. Right now there's 40-something people watching this, and believe it or not, thousands of people actually watch this at the end of the day. I imagine they're probably trying to get some sleep in the middle of the night. They put on Mayor's Night Out and just go right to sleep, right? All right. Anyway, it's good to be home. I've been traveling a lot lately. I love being 10 minutes from my house. Last night when I got done working, I was 2.5 hours from my house, so it's good to be home. So thank you all for coming out to Mayor's Night Out. We do this 6 times a year in all 6 districts. The next time we do this is September 14th. We're going to be in the 4th District with Councilman Emerson at Frank-O'Bannon Elementary School. Again, I want to thank Superintendent Miller for making the schools available. Like in the 3rd District here, making Hammond Central available. A lot of people don't have kids in this school, and you get to come in and see something that the taxpayers of Hammond bought, something we should be very proud of. I've been all around the state. This is the most beautiful school I've seen. It's something to be very proud of. For an urban city to do something like this is very beneficial for the kids and for the city itself. So great job to the school city. We appreciate being feeling so welcome in your house. So let's go ahead and get started, Eileen.
First question, can you please give us an update on the incoming train station?
Sure. So as everybody knows, this is a project that's been going on. The South Shore expansion has been going on. If you really want to get technical, we were talking about this in 2008. I was mayor then also, and it fell apart in 2008 because of Gary. At that time, didn't want to participate financially. Then Congressman Visclosky in about 2012, 2013 started cobbling together commitments from communities around Northwest Indiana. Hammond ultimately came on and signed on along with many other communities throughout the region. It started off at, I think, $385 million. Sounds about right. And I'd say it was probably closer to double that now. All right. Give or take, so 100 million a mile-ish. So, but that's federal government. But the good thing is, for us here in Hammond, a lot of that work is taking place right here. A lot of new infrastructure being built in our city. We're going to have rail lines going all the way down to Dyer, which will be the last line. So if you know where Main Street and Dyer, Munster, it'll be the terminus will be in that area down there. The next stop north out of Dyer will be in Munster on Ridge Road, basically, Ridge Road and the Lyman. The next stop after that will be in Hammond, right across the Little Cal. It'll be right on 173rd, right in that area over there. The next stop after that will be after the line opens, but it'll be in downtown Hammond. We made a deal with NICD. We couldn't start that station until the day the train's rolling. But we're ready for it. And NICD's been working with us. We have the site location picked, but we can't start physically working on that station until the first day the trains roll. But downtown Hammond will have a station approximately behind the federal courthouse in that area there. The next station after that will be the one that we really insisted on in Hammond, which is called the Gateway Station. That'll be a station that houses both lines, the current line that goes from South Bend to Chicago, and the new line that goes from Chicago to Dyer. The Gateway Station will house both lines in it, so you could transfer from one line to the other. So if you wanted to go from Dyer to South Bend, you could do it. You would just change trains in the Gateway Station and go east. You know, and when they first started talking about this project, it was really aligned to getting to Chicago, getting from Chicago, because we talked Congressman Visclosky at the time and NICD into considering a gateway station. It was more expensive, but it's more practical also. It allows you to get around the region also. We can get from Dyer to the Gary Airport, for instance. We spent a lot of money on the Gary Airport, and we were making it easy to get to Midway than it was to get to Gary. And we sort of shamed the state into supporting this project based on those ideals. And this is Hammond's only bite at the apple right now. This is it. Any other expansion that takes place is not going to involve us in the slightest bit. So we made sure that there was a big ask in place, and there was, and I appreciate the council support on this, because without the council support, none of this would have happened. So I'm real proud of the fact that Hammond's getting most of the benefit out of this project. The $900 million that's invested, more than half of that's going to be on our city, and it's going to give us the ability to do things called TDD, Transit Development Districts, which is going to be people, young people mostly, that want to live closer to the rail lines. So that's the explanation. The question is, when's this going to start rolling? They keep pushing that back. I thought it originally was supposed to be 2023, and that is not going to happen. I say 2025 is safe, which means probably 2027, let's be honest. So, like, let's still get all caught up on when it rolls. They're actually spending money and clearing out right away right now, which is a good thing, but they move at their own speed. So it's a good project for us. It's painful. You know, the right-of-way is, you know, I was driving along the right-of-way today, and the grass is real high, and it's just, we're under construction right now. But when this is all said and done, Hammond's going to get bigger and newer, which I think is a good thing. So Anybody have a question about this? I'm sure there's probably is quite a few, so we're ready to answer. And I got people up here. Africa Tarver. Africa, could you grab a microphone? Africa is my appointee to the Regional Development Authority. She has a lot to do with what's going on. I don't know if I did it justice or not, Africa. Could you?
No, you really. The project is expected to start, if I can get the mics right, that project is expected to be on the track 2025. But as you know, with construction, various things, but that's when it's anticipated. It is expected to be a transformative project from Dyer to here. We also have the double track, so it's a really good project for the region. Today we were at Hard Rock, and then they had various people from the Forum RDA as well. Forum RDA and NICD talk about the project and how it's going to affect the area and how it's going to be totally transformative for the area and how we all had to come together to make this project a
We did,
success.
definitely had to. And the double track that Africa's talking about is, if you believe it or not, between Gary and Michigan City, the NICD alignment for over a century had one line. So if a train broke down, for instance, going one direction, nobody can move from South Bend to Michigan City or vice versa, which is insane to think that we had a commuter rail line with one line. $300 or $400 million was to double up that line between Michigan City and Gary, which is great for the project as well. So overall, I think it's going to make the system a lot more effective. Hopefully a lot more ridership. Hopefully a lot more people are inclined to move out of Chicago and move to Northwest Indiana, particularly here in Hammond, and our city gets younger and bigger as a result. So, and I tell you, the migration from Chicago to the Northwest Indiana is a real thing, especially to Hammond. I mean, every single day, economic development's fielding calls, people, businesses that want to move to Hammond, want to move to Northwest Indiana, which is sort of scary for our neighbor to the north and to the west. I don't know, long-term prognosis for Chicago and for Illinois, it's sort of scary because it's a real thing that's happening. People are moving to the region right now from Illinois, which is good for us, but it is scary because we're sort of hitching our wagon to Chicago with this huge project, and I hope Chicago's still in great shape 10, 20, 30 years from now. So, yes, ma'am. Hi.
It's me again, sorry.
It's okay. That's what Mayor's Night's all about.
Okay, you're talking about double track. I know you're talking about from Michigan City to Gary, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Are there going to be two lines going from Dyer to Hammond also? Or is it just one line?
That's just one.
Okay.
That's a great question. We'll be double tracking that, you know, 1-point-something billion dollars 20 years from now probably, so.
So they're going to just keep working until 25, putting this together? I mean, really?
Yeah. And then once it's done, then we are free in Hammond to start working on the downtown Hammond station, which is really important to us. There was a lot of push. Quite frankly, we wanted a downtown Hammond station from the beginning, but there was a real strong push for the station on 73rd, which didn't make a ton of sense to me, being honest with you, but there was a real big push. I think a lot of people from Purdue wanted to see that happen, but that station was real important to a lot of people, whereas the downtown Hammond station is more important to all of us because we want to help redevelop downtown Hammond, and a new station would be great for that. So, and the gateway was important too because that line houses both lines, so it had to be where it is. We couldn't really move that station because that's where the lines intersect.
So what you're saying is where Holman stops right now at Hoffman, that is going to be closed until?
I'm not sure when it's going to be closed, but that's going to be it's going to be reopened in August. That's going to be the maintenance facility, right? Okay, Champion. Okay. Well, you could say it in the microphone.
Thank you, Mayor. Holman and Hoffman is a reconstruction project that we have ongoing with the state of Indiana. It was federally funded. It's the final phase of that project that took us from Goslin Street at State Line all the way to White Oak and Chicago Street. So that project will wrap up in August. We expect to have that intersection all completed. The work going on to the west, where the old OK Champion building was, is where the new maintenance facility will go for the Westlake project.
I appreciate you bringing that up, Dean. I didn't even mention the old maintenance facility that's being built at the OK Champion. That's going to be new jobs, new economic development there as well, and they needed to put that someplace, and we were really happy to accommodate them in Hammond. So And the company that left Hammond, the Zurich Trucking, was supposed to find a home in Gary. I think they're having trouble, but yeah, so.
I
It's
thought
okay.
that was all part of the train station, and I've had visitors come from out of town, and they asked me, and I said, I just thought it was part of getting ready for the new train station, but it has nothing to do with a new train station.
No, ma'am. That was a project that's been in the works for the last 10 years, what we call the Chicago Street Project, to improve Chicago Street and Goslin and Sheffield. It's a $35 million project overall. The mayor was instrumental in getting us an earmark, really, the funding from the Congress to get that project done. And so that's what that project is. It's a
Maybe some people are thinking that it's going to be going on for years.
So-
I mean, I read the paper every day, and it's not like I don't know.
Right, that's a good
We
point.
do have a website, go
Yeah, but not
chicagostreet.com.
everybody goes on, I know. Maybe we should put some signs up. That's a great point that she makes. Can we do that? Completion
Absolutely.
date, stuff like that?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Great point. That's why we do Mayor's Night. Yes, ma'am. Any other questions on the South Shore expansion? Yeah, Ms. King?
Have you all considered, as this project moves along, any kind of internships or shadowing of our students, ACC and construction students, or is there an opportunity for our students to
You
get
know,
involved?
this project, Ms. King, is really not being driven by the city in the slightest bit. It's through NICD. Once we committed to the project, I mean, I know Africa's maintaining contact because she's on the RDA. I know Ann's involved through economic development. Dean and Brian Poland's involved. But I could tell you that, I don't know, Brian, could you grab a microphone? Is that an accurate statement? I mean, it seems like they're driving the train. Is that an accurate statement?
Driving the train.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, NICD is definitely driving this train.
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, but you do have input, but not even, Ms. King, how about this? We didn't like something they're doing towards one of the stations, and it's in Hammond. You would think that we call the shots. We're negotiating about a project in our own city, and I'm hopeful that we're going to be successful because we know the city better than they do. But so if there was, I mean, we have a lot of internships through the city, but I'm not sure about NICD. Do you know anything about that, Brian? Where we could possibly get internships through NICD?
No, I don't. I mean, we can certainly reach out to them and find out.
Okay, thank you for the question. Any other questions on South Shore expansion? Thanks. The city of Hammond committed, we got a really good deal out of this. I'm trying to remember what the commitment was. Oh yeah, for 20 years. So what, that's $10 million over 20 years. For $10 million over 20 years, city of Hammond's gonna receive $300 or $400 million in investment. It's a pretty good return. I think this gentleman has a question. The bike trail is still going to be in existence. Brian, could you touch on that?
What's going to happen to the bike trail?
And the bridge, that we built.
Yeah, the bike trail will be parallel to the alignment of the train, and of course the bridge we built on 165th Street will still be there. The train will be on the east side of the bridge right there, and I think there might be some adjustments when it comes crossing the Little Calumet River, if I remember correctly. Dean,
that bridge down there.
Yeah, there's a footbridge now, and then there's a train bridge, and it'll be there, but it switches which side of the tracks it is on in that area.
So the bike trail bridge that crosses 65th stays. The train will be on the east side of that bridge all the way down up until it gets across 73rd towards the Little Calumet River. That's where it starts.
Right, yeah, and then, I think it crosses at Douglas Street too.
At what?
Dean, correct me on this, does it change sides at Douglas Street?
Wow, you hit me. Well, the Monon has to switch sides, right, because the track starts to angle to the west. But the fact is, it's a cooperative agreement between the city of Hammond and NICD and the ownership of the right-of-way, and so we've always maintained that there will remain a bike trail on the Monon alignment.
Yeah. So, thanks for the question, sir. It's an important question for me too. I'm a frequent user of the trails. You all right?
Plug for Wham.
You look
too,
like you're
by the way.
perplexed.
No, well, not really. It's just that I kind of wonder how you're going to squeeze all that in. Space is kind of tight.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to swerve on my bike.
Right by the cemetery.
Yes, sir. At least
really
it's
tight.
convenient, right?
The train alignment will have security fence.
As well? Okay.
Yeah. Also, might be a good time to talk about Wham because it's coming through that way too.
Knock yourself out, big guy. You're right here.
City of Hammond has a after midnight bike ride on August 6th going into August 7th. We call Wham. It starts at Wolf Lake Memorial Park Pavilion. The ride starts at midnight. Jill is at the table too. She's coordinating that bicycle ride, but the trail will be part of that total route. So it'll be real nice. We have to cross, because the bridge over the Little Calumet River is now closed, because it has to be relocated for the train.
Oh, yeah.
We'll cross over at Holman Avenue.
Okay.
And then at 173rd, you'll turn right, northbound, turning right, and then back onto the Monon Trail to take
Okay.
us into downtown. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Questions? But Sasha, right here? Hi. For Wham? All right, we're on that topic.
With Wham, can you create two rules? One rule would be use your indoor voice, and the second rule is to use earplugs for the music. You are coming through neighborhoods, and people do shout, and people blast their radios, and it really does disturb when people sleep.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. All right. We're moving right along.
Any future plans for 165th and Alexander? I'm sorry, 167th and Alexander. The street needs to be repaired.
Nice. Is City Engineer Dean Button?
Thank you, Mayor. That is a difficult project for me to talk about. This was a project that was envisioned in 1999. It was designed at that point, but never went to construction. The Hammond Capital Improvements Board was petitioned to move forward to bid this project out. We agreed. We refreshed the design. We went out to bid. Generally, it's about $1 million a block with engineering and construction to do a project, a reconstruction project in the city of Hammond. So that's about $800,000 a block for the actual construction. We submitted for bids. The project came in at $1.8 million to complete. I think a lot of that has to do with the timeline that we solicited on to try to get the project completed, but mostly as it relates to the labor force that's available within the community. We talked about the Westlake and how we've got $900 million worth of work going on, and that's eating up a lot of the labor force. And then the material availability, you've heard about supply chain related issues. And so we can't move forward on a project that's more than twice what we would normally pay. And so we've asked the administration that be canceled at this time and pushed off to a future date.
Thank you, Dean. You know, first off, I'm reading comments on the Go Hammond, and of course I talk about a power outage, and then they report to me there is a power outage in Hammond right now in the North Hammond area, which is great. So if we do need cooling centers, start getting your mind wrapped around that, Jim, just in case that happens. It is, although it did cool down a little bit with the wind today, it's still, were you guys aware of that? I know, I didn't either. Jeff, did you hear anything about that? No, sir. Okay. All right, so thank you to people watching the council meeting through Go Hammond. We appreciate their help. Dean's talking about a project on 167th and Alexander, but one of the things I think Hammond did really well in the last year was shift the way we spend our gaming money, and I want to thank the council for that. Hammond takes 68%, or is it 62%? 62% of our gaming revenue, and we put it right into the Capital Improvement Board, which has very specific things that they could spend it on. And actually, your 3rd District Councilman here is on the Capital Improvement Board, along with Dean, along with a number of other people. And projects like 167th and Alexander are submitted to the Capital Improvement Board where they could be properly financed. The way we were doing it before, it would take a council person 3 or 4 years to finance a project like that, whereas it's a lot more possible to do it under the new system. Quite frankly, I wish we were doing it that way when we first got the gaming money. It took us a while to get where we are now, but I think we're doing it the right way right now. And there are sacrifices. Each council district and the mayor has less discretionary gaming money to use, but I see the projects that they're doing at the Capital Improvement Board, and they're transformative, big projects that we couldn't do under the old system. So, in fact, Dean, would you do me a favor? Could you get me an update to me and the council on all the projects you guys have done on the Capital Improvement Board so we could show the council? How long has it been up and running now?
The Capital Improvements Board's been almost 2 years now, Mayor.
Okay.
When we started this, I think it was in August of.
That'd be nice if you can get a map of Hammond and show us all the projects you guys have done over the last 2 years, because they're real big projects, I know that, and I think that'd be a real good thing to show our colleagues, so. But I appreciate the council for their support. We did it right after the pandemic, you're right. It was easy because we hadn't spent money for a long time at that point, so we just rolled into the new system. So, thank you for the question.
What can be done about car washing and alley blocking near my garage? Even with police involvement, it continues to happen.
Say that again, car blocking in the garage?
Yes, and
That's unacceptable.
car washing and just blocking in general near
And then they
their
leave the car
garage.
there?
Mm-hmm.
What's the address?
6200 block of Jefferson.
Okay. Jeff, this is the Assistant Chief of Police, Jeff Long. How's it going, Jeff? We always have a heck of a time with that on-off switch.
Okay, Mayor. I spoke with Sergeant Mickey, who's here tonight also. She spoke to that person. We're aware of it now. She's going to start working on that address. And also there was a complaint that police officers responding were giving the complainant's name and address out. So I'm going to work on that part of it. So
Awesome.
It's already underway. We're going to work on it.
All right, nice to see you, Sergeant Mickey. Thank you for being here. While we're talking about the police department, obviously blocking anybody's car in is completely unacceptable. It's something to call the police about right away. And obviously we would react right away. Nobody wants to get trapped in their house or trapped in their garage. I know I have a lady here that was at the last mayor's night that was talking about excessive speed on Berrien Parkway. Because at Mayor's Night Out, when we get complaints, we follow them up. I asked the police department to do a speed check on Berrien Parkway, and the Assistant Chief of Police did that through traffic. Could you talk a little bit about how you guys do that, and then the results on Berrien Parkway? And then I'm not sure if, let's just go ahead and do that if you don't mind.
Yes, sir. At the last Mayor's Night Out, Ms. Daniels complained of speeders down Berrien Parkway, particularly the 7200 block. I tasked Sergeant Sparks in traffic to put up our camera, and what the camera does is it monitors speed. We had the camera up over the course of 24 days. It was only taken down 2 days to recharge the batteries. Over the course of the 24 days, 6,469 vehicles registered. 85% of the vehicles were under the posted speed limits. 14% were moderately above the speed limit, and 1% were between 25 miles an hour and 49 miles an hour. 0% of the vehicles monitored were above 50 miles an hour. 28 miles per hour was the average speed limit over the course of the 24 days. And based on that information, it's certainly safe to say there are people going over the speed limit.
And the speed limit there is 30?
25.
25?
25.
Okay.
It's 15 and 25, yes. Anyway, sir, Mayor, the complaint was people going 80 miles an hour, which I was sure wasn't happening. And by the data, it's not happening.
15 seems pretty slow. I go faster than that on my bike. I want to point that out. I think 15's really slow. I live on a parkway, and it's not 15 on Knickerbocker, is it?
No, well, Mayor,
that's too slow. Where is it, through the curve?
I get it. I think this complaint is based on wanting speed bumps more than anything.
Right.
The police department's going to continue to be out there as much as we can. We do get complaints throughout the city of stuff like this. I send people out as much as we can to write tickets. I just wanted you to know that we did do the study, and we're going to be out there as much as we can.
And I know the lady would like to speak on this, but I want to ask you again. So when you do this speed test, how long is it in place for?
We can leave it there as long as we want it, but this particular one we did for 24 days.
24 days?
Just over 3 weeks, yes.
It's literally sitting there for 24 days?
Correct.
Okay.
It was only taken down.
So if I went down Berrien at like 85 miles an hour at 2 in the morning, you would pick it up?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, all right. Ma'am, hi. We did follow it up, and I know that we talked beforehand, and it seemed like you weren't thrilled with the results, but let's go ahead and talk.
There was no result. There was none because it's not right. Okay, they're going still fast, okay? So,
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what your thing is, that little white duh box, okay? What did it do? Nothing, okay? It didn't do anything. It's 15 miles per hour. Even if they were going 25 miles an hour, it's still over the speed limit.
I know.
So,
Honestly, it seems 15 miles an hour to me seems really slow. I think that's sort of crazy. On my block also, I think I go faster than that on my bike for sure.
The people on our block do not. They go 15 miles an hour, all
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
It's the other people that go.
Are you towards the end, towards 175th down there? Or are you
no,
further?
we're 173rd.
173rd, south of 73rd or north? North of it. Okay, gotcha. Okay, well, the good news is you got our attention. Okay, that's not good news?
Because somebody at the last meeting said that that was a Wednesday, and they said Thursday that there were going to be lots of signs on Bering Parkway. There's one. The one children and play. One. Okay, that's it. There was supposed to be all kinds of signs, even
I
on
like you.
173rd.
I think you and I get along really well. All right, we could do something about this.
73rd Street going before you turn right. Okay, there's none. Okay, none. So what about that?
All right, Tim. Hey, Tim, grab a microphone over there. Yeah, you're here. It's like, I don't see Gary, so I'm coming to you. Hey, Gary. Yeah, you got thrown under the bus because Gary's out in the audience, Tim. How's it going? I think this lady is upset that we gave her crappy signs. I'm determining that. I think we can do better signage-wise, can we?
Yeah, we could.
Do we paint our own signs in your shop, right?
We do.
Can we do some signs that properly, display what the speed limit is on Bering so that people will slow down?
Yeah, we can get some signs there. There's no problem there.
Okay.
Okay, we'll get something there.
Sure.
Sergeant Mickey's here tonight. Her and Scott Holbrook, both from Community Policing, were out there for several hours and they wrote 3 tickets. The tickets were written from two people from the neighborhood. So I just wanted you to know that it took multiple hours to get 3 people speeding and that they were from the neighborhood, just so you know.
Okay. Sergeant Mickey, you don't live over there, right? Did you used to live over there?
No, I lived in South Hammond by Bosco and now in Hesco.
Bosco, okay. Okay. Well, Gary, I see you over there. You were hiding back there. Hi. Sounds like we could do better signage, possibly.
We do have extra signs up. After the last meeting, we went out there, put a couple, and then I told my sign guy, you better put maybe 1 or 2 more. So there is signs. Let's be honest, we wouldn't need judges in courts if we all obeyed speed signs.
That's true.
And it's not gonna, you could go through 20 signs and I could ask you what one of them said and you wouldn't be able to say it. It's just, you're concentrating on what you're doing.
Right.
But the signs are there. That's all we can do. We put the children at play. We put them on some poles all the way down to 171st.
Okay. Okay, I'm driving Bering when I get home today. I'm doing the speed limit, by the way. I want to go check this out with my own eyeballs. So. You
haven't done it yet?
No, I mean I have, but I want to look at it differently. I drive on my bike over there. So yes, sir. Hi.
Hey, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
The police department over there said last meeting that he would put electronic signs on 173rd that flash, and then on Bering they would move them around. They did not do it. They put a little box
Yeah.
that reads the speed.
But you were pointing out before I came over here, sir, what Purdue did over there with their, like, that thing, we had to apply through a grant to get that, right? We did that. I think the gentleman, I know, but the gentleman was pointing out that he thinks something like that should be on 173rd on the Bering Parkway side as well. Right. Oh, he was talking about the temporary, you were talking about the temporary ones, right?
They did not do that, and the signs are small. Put a bigger sign as you turn 15 miles an hour, not 25 like a regular
Okay.
street. It's 15, and they do speed down there.
Okay.
Even some in the black
I believe
and white.
you. I believe you. I have a general rule when I get my butt kicked at mayor's night, my department heads are supposed to do stuff so I don't get my butt kicked in future meetings. I have a feeling you guys are going to be back. So why don't we take a comprehensive look at what's going on at 173rd, the speed's too damn high anyway, let's be honest. People are going 50, 60 miles an hour down 73rd. And I don't doubt that people are going fast on Bering because they go fast where I live also. So why don't we just challenge my department heads to do a better job over there? Well, okay, ma'am. I mean, obviously we did something since our last. No. We did something since our last meeting. We did a speed check, and you shake your head and laugh at us, but we did it for 28 days, ma'am. Okay, well, I guess my people are, okay. All right, I feel like, yeah. I didn't do it myself, so I'm assuming, okay, all right. Okay. By the way, like, ma'am, you know, okay, I want to talk to you guys. I think in Hammond, we've been doing this for, okay, all right. Hi, Kelly. Sure. Sergeant Mickey, nice to see you.
Hi, I hear your complaint. I wish personally every police officer could spend the time to get people to drive slower because speed is the #1 factor in fatalities, but the reality is it can't happen. So I understand your frustration. I live in Hessville, and speeding is a problem on my street. I have a squad car that sits out in front of my house. The stop sign is disregarded all the time. It's frustrating. You hear my voice shaking because I understand your frustration. My neighbors knock on my door, ask me if I'm going to do something about it. I try, I do it. It still doesn't change it. So he's trying to address your problem. We're trying to address your problem. Your problem. But however, it's a problem that we cannot solve. If I come and I sit there and I write tickets, I've slowed that person down. But how many people were on that recording box? 6,000 people. We can't stop them all. There's other calls. I understand your frustration, and I understand the complaint, but we're trying, and that's all we can do. You are not being ignored. Community Affairs was sent out there. That's 9 people. The Traffic Division was sent out there. That's 25 people. And the beat officers were sent out. That's 3 additional people, 24 hours a day.
Put those speed bumps out
Okay.
there.
All right. Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate it. I want to read the results one more time before we move on. We had the Bering Parkway report that was given to us by a sergeant in the Hammond Police Department. I'm assuming that the sergeant did it the right way. Assuming that the sergeant's not lying to me. 6,500 vehicles registered. 85% of the vehicles were under the speed limit. 6,500 passes. So this was not, we didn't just make this up, but anyway. I appreciate it. I'm going to continue to challenge my department heads to try to help you so that I don't get, static in future meetings. I appreciate you guys being out here. I want to point out that, and I'm not even going to, I appreciate you guys. My job is to help you. I want to try to do it. And I'm sorry if, yes, ma'am. There's a big deal, ma'am. Because if I do it for you, there's going to be speed bumps, 500 of them in the city of Hammond.
Well, I mean,
no, my people have
they don't even have to be bolted in.
I don't want to get yelled at, ma'am. You could run for office and have a different attitude. This is where I'm coming from. One of the biggest pain. Okay, I'm not going to argue. I'm not up here to argue with you, ma'am. I want to help you, but I'm not going to do speed bumps across the city of Hammond because it's too much. The public works guys have to clean the streets when it snows. So anyway, thank you. I appreciate it. Let's move on.
Thanks for all you and your amazing staff do. We suffer from a critical housing need for our residents. Can you help?
Critical housing need? I agree. I think that Hammond does a good job with a lot of housing, but we could always do better. We're still losing young people that want to build the houses, and we have opportunities in the future presenting itself where we're going to have an opportunity for people that want to build their own house to build it right here in Hammond. We don't get opportunities like this a lot. We're talking about up in Robertsdale, the Clark High School football athletic fields. There's a public meeting coming up on the 22nd at 5 o'clock at the Clipper Room. June 22nd, 5 o'clock at the Clipper Room. We're going to have a public meeting on proposals to develop the Clark High School athletic fields. We have 3 different proposals we're presenting to the crowd. We want to get their input. No decisions have been made. I do have my favorite, but I'm not going to let on which is my favorite. We want to see where the community comes back. We do want to develop that area. We're not really, there's some people that don't want to see it developed at all. I don't know if they're ever going to be happy with whatever plan we come up with because we are going to develop that area. But it's how do we want it to look in the future? Do we want it to focus more on single family homes? Do we want to have more mixed use types of houses? The area we did not develop is, we're moving Station 2, the firehouse, which is on 122nd. We're moving it down to basically where the environmental center is. The environmental center is going to Hobart, and it's going to become our new firehouse there. And everything between 122nd north of the new firehouse is undeveloped under this plan. So at this meeting on the 22nd, we're talking about the area where the parking lot, the baseball field, the softball field, the football field, that area in there, how to develop it into the future. We do have money set aside from the American Rescue Plan to help develop that area infrastructure-wise, and then we could subdivide it and start selling off the lots so that people that are interested could buy a lot and build their house. Who wants to offer some more input onto that? Anybody who's working on that project? Brian? You got volunteered, Brian. Congratulations. I look over here, everybody goes, Brian? Brian, Clark Fields.
Oh, thanks. Well, I think you covered it pretty well. You know, we have the public hearing coming up, our public meeting, and that is going to present the three options. And in the frontage property, you know, we, as you said, was going to be left undeveloped, and see, you know, what the future lies with that. I think it's a great opportunity for us to develop some new housing in Robertsdale, and I hope that we can come up with a design that everybody agrees to.
Thank you. New housing areas, we had Parish View that completely filled up in Hessville, which is nice. We did Millennium, and we're still doing working on Millennium. Are you working right on that, Levita? No, you're not doing that one? And then obviously this new development in Robertsdale, so. Las Marcia Estates, D'Lo Parkway, good points, right. All right. Yes, sir, we got a question back here. Well, the written question we'll get to.
Well, but it's on the subject.
Okay.
How do you communicate that when this meeting is taking place? How do you let residents know that there's a meeting on the 22nd at the Clipper Room, wherever the Clipper Room is?
Okay, well, one way we do it is at Mayor's Night Out.
Right.
Okay.
And also
what's
at the
other
Common Council meeting.
And the City Council meeting, we talked about it there, right?
I know that Sharon Zaney has a flyer that she's put out. It's being put out in the neighborhood and delivered to the neighborhood, and also it is up on social media. If Sharon's here, she could answer that.
She's not here.
I looked at Facebook, I looked at gohammond.com, nothing.
Okay.
We'll follow it up.
No flyer was given to me either.
We will put flyers out. We usually put it out through Public Works. So.
I mean, it's next week.
Yeah, it's a good point. I appreciate it. It's a good point. Well, it's not out. Okay, thanks for pointing that out. But we have announced it at the council meeting. We have announced it here. I know Councilman Mark knows about it. So, I mean, obviously we could do better, and we will. So.
Meetings at the council meeting, but no one gets the message, so no one attends those public meetings.
Well, you found out, right?
I found out through you, because you speak to the council every once
Right.
a month. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thanks. All right.
Seniors have been receiving threats from teenagers that live on the block. They have been stealing, walking it, making it hard for us to leave our homes. What can be done?
Say that again.
Seniors have been receiving threats from teenagers that live on the block. They have been stealing and making it hard for us to leave our homes. What can be done?
Is there an address on there?
400 block of Waltham.
It's my first time hearing it, Mayor, but we can address it for sure.
Sure.
Is it a he or she? Are they still here? Can they meet with me after the meeting and I'll get their information? Can we do that? And then I'll make sure I take care of it.
Appreciate it. Okay.
I am concerned about the growing violence occurring in our society and schools and would like to propose the cause and a solution to the problem.
Okay, that's interesting. Hi. I'm concerned about violence
Mayor.
also.
Thank you for taking my comment and
Sure.
a question, and peace be with you all.
Thanks.
I'm concerned about the growing violence and mass shootings that have been occurring in our schools and in our society. And I believe that the root cause of this is because the topic of God has been removed from our schools. And 94, according to Cato.org, 94% of shootings that occur in schools happen in public schools, only 6% in private. And so there's two things. One is that when when you have first of all, I can prove God exists. Most of your philosophers agree that if something has form and fashion, it must have been created. So my evidence of God is me, it's you. Secondly, if I hold God to be a just God, because I see injustices in this world, that's my evidence that there must be a judgment day coming where God will judge everyone according to their deeds. And if we can get this back in the minds of our kids, it will help to bridle the lusts of evil actions. And removing that, though, gives you a license to commit crime. And committing crime or committing sin produces suffering, killings, which is what we've been seeing.
Mm-hmm.
I know that legislation is talking about bringing in more police officers, more guns. I don't think our schools should be war zones, okay? I don't think that's what, our kids should not have to come to school every day and just see a bunch of police officers. But if we get back to the acknowledgement of God, being thankful to Him, recognizing that there is a judgment day, that acknowledgement of a judgment day will be the thing that will help. And so I was going to propose to you, Mayor, and maybe this is a more of an appropriate question for the superintendent, is can we have, I know we're going to have differences of opinion on this, right? We're going to have people who don't believe in God. We're going to have Muslims. We're going to have Christians, right? And all of these different kids are coming to the school. Could we, rather than not discussing God at all, could we, superintendent, maybe have a class where, call it a comparative religion class, where different ministers could come. They could teach what they believe about God and then let the kids respond, whether they agree or not, and let them peaceably debate. At least in this way, we can get some acknowledgement of God.
Thank you.
And thank you for taking my
Thank you, sir. Superintendent. I know by the way, I know Scott personally, and Scott's a religious person. I know that. So
Yeah.
I know.
First off, thank you for your comment. I appreciate that. And I would acknowledge on some level that people not recognizing a higher power creates some moral quandaries. But the school cannot establish religion in any form or fashion. That's a public school cannot, at least. We do actually in the Indiana State Standards teach comparative religion in 6th grade social studies. So they get exposure to all of the major world religions in 6th grade already. We do also support prayer of individuals in school. Any individual student, if they want to pray, they are absolutely allowed to pray and would not be refused. The one thing we can't do is corporate prayer. We can't get on the announcements and offer a prayer. We can't subject students to prayer that wouldn't want to have that. But any individual student, no matter their religion, if they want to pray, they can do that. And we've even made accommodations before for students who practice Islam to be able to pray towards Mecca and things like that. Those are all well defined through court cases that schools have to do those type of things. But going back to it, I don't think there's any way that we could officially as a school. We've had student-led clubs over, like Bible clubs. We've had that in our schools many times before. But those are after-school student-led things where the students have initiated those topics. But we can't formally teach any one religion in a public school. We just cannot.
I have a podcast that we do twice a week, and today, funny enough, with the question you asked, we had a gentleman on that practiced First Amendment law across the country. He was talking to us about a Supreme Court case that had to do with a football coach that prayed with his players after each game, and it's up in the U.S. Supreme Court whether or not he broke the law, whether that's even legal. And he wasn't forcing his players to do it. He was just simply getting down on a knee and praying, and his players would come up with him. And it's in the U.S. Supreme Court right now being decided. So it's a really tough issue when you're talking about public school. So, but I appreciate your thoughts and your opinion. I appreciate it. It's a major problem, violence nowadays. You know, obviously Hammond is not exempt from violence, and there's a lot of problems in the world today. I appreciate the question. Yes, ma'am.
In 2 weeks, is it the law still passed that, oh, it is? Oh,
Yes, ma'am.
that's wonderful.
I agree.
Okay. And the governor
Could
is
I'll
proud
go
of
ahead
that?
I'll go ahead and explain to everybody what you're talking about, ma'am. The General Assembly and the governor signed into law on July 1st. You know, right now, if you bought a gun from Cabela's, you would have to go through background checks before you could, you know, before that you get that weapon. You have to go through fingerprints and all that stuff, and you get a permit from the state that allows you to carry in public. On July 1st, they scrapped that whole system. Law enforcement across Indiana was telling the General Assembly and the governor they're out to lunch on this issue, and they didn't care. You could vote them out, ma'am. That's really the only option we have. Yes, ma'am. I mean, I imagine they're probably, I hope not, but
Pardon? I know, it's ridiculous. I mean, I don't
It's
understand why
crazy.
the governor would even pass a law like that.
it's crazy, especially after what happened in Uvalde. It's like, these people don't, I know, it's a crazy society, but, you know, there's a few, I talk about this a lot when I'm on the campaign trail. Obviously, the number of guns in society, the fact that automatic weapons are, you could buy an automatic weapon when you're 18 years old. In a lot of states, you can't buy a gun until you're 21, but you can buy an automatic weapon at the age of 18. Obviously, the state's been cutting back on aid for people with mental illness, you know, drug dependencies, mental illness, that's a problem. And then I don't have to tell the Hammond Police Department, we catch bad guys that are violent criminals and we put them in the system, and these same people that go into the system for a violent crime are back out on the street 2-3 days later, like nothing happened. So you take all these factors added together, and the fact that people don't have God anymore, they don't worship God anymore, it's just a bad mix. The family's breaking down. There's just a lot of problems in America right now, and I think that the easy dependence, the easy accessibility to guns. Man, when I was a kid, we used to get punched if you said something wrong. We'd get in fights. Nowadays, the one that happened on Halloween in Hammond, that poor little boy, that's the kind of thing, he's 13 years old. He was trick-or-treating. He said something that was offensive. He didn't deserve to get killed over it. He said something that was offensive. That's what 13-year-olds do. They're not mature yet. He said something that was offensive, and he got killed for it with an automatic weapon. I just don't understand what the heck is going on in the world nowadays. And I understand why it's frustrating. We need to do something about it. I honestly feel that way. I'm not trying to take everybody's guns, but it's crazy what's going on. And as violent as we are in Hammond, our neighbor to the east, wow, it's really a tough year. Our neighbor to the west, it's a really tough year. Just hold on, you know, but it's a lot of things, ma'am, but it's worse than a speed bump. I would definitely say that, sir. So I'd rather have speed bumps all over the city than have guns. So, all right. Any other follow-ups on this issue? But thank you for the question.
Is there any coordination between the Civil City and School City on a plan if there is an active shooter in the schools?
I could tell you, first off, I'm going to let Superintendent Miller answer that. I could tell you that I think from where I sit, I think that the coordination between the Civil City and the School City is very good. I really do. I think that we've been working together very well. I have a good relationship with the school city, the school board, the superintendent. Obviously, our police force and the school city police force works real close together. God forbid something like that. God forbid something like that ever happen. But Superintendent Miller, I know it's your worst nightmare.
Yeah, absolutely. But we do have excellent communication with the Hammond Police Department. They have access. They have, you know, one of the things in Uvalde was that they couldn't seem to find a key to the classroom. That's one of the reasons there was this big delay, because they couldn't find a key. But like, we have key fobs that allow access for our Hammond police officers in emergency into all of our facilities. They have camera access in an emergency, as well as the Lake County 911 can remotely from their 911 center access every camera in here, every camera in the school system, to provide tactical support in the event that there was a shooter in our schools. So we have some other things. We have apps on our phones that any teacher can click on it, and it'll sound an emergency and it'll notify every single person in the school of a lockdown and immediately call 911. It's a multi-phased approach, unfortunately. I mean, there's no one best practice for schools. I mean, there's a lot of talk about it right now. We bought the weapon detectors. Most of you walked through it and probably didn't even notice, but you were being scanned as you came in. And we use those successfully at our graduations. The city's going to borrow them for the Festival of the Lakes to make sure everybody is safe on those events. But it's a multi-tiered approach. I don't know if HPD wants to say anything more.
Yeah, Jeff, could you?
I do. I want to just touch on what happened at Uvalde. I want to be critical of the police officers there, and that's not something that we normally do. But that day it took several minutes for police officers to go in the building. And we're taught here that when you get there, you go in immediately because that's the only way you're going to bring the attention to you away from the kids. So that's the only thing I will say. Scott said everything I needed to say as far as our relationship together. But that day, police officers should have went in the school immediately.
Chief Long, did you know right away when you watched that? Did you realize that right away from your training that that was obviously something that went wrong?
Yeah, only because I could see a lot of officers standing outside by their cars. And,
they were fighting with the parents.
Fighting with parents, tasing parents, cuffing parents. And I don't know about you guys, but if I'm going to a school, my kid's in a school, I'm going in the school. If you're not going to the school, I'm going to the school. So I don't know why that happened exactly, but I do know that the police officers that didn't go in the school shouldn't be police officers. That's all I can say about that.
I appreciate it. That's a day that none of us ever had, Ms. King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That was my question. I hear your responses was good, but my question is really, is there a plan? I mean, have you come together and I know it's hard to plan out because you never know what's going to happen, but is there a solid plan that you've come together and you know everybody knows what everybody's going to do? I mean, from the teachers to students, the whole 9 yards, the plan.
Well, I can tell you, I haven't been part of any meeting like that, but that's not surprising, Ms. King. So I imagine police in the school city probably have a lot more detailed meetings than when I'm sitting there. So, Superintendent, I don't know.
So we have a school safety plan for every single school in the district. That is required. It is turned in to the state. That's an annual requirement to update a school safety plan that includes these type of situations are detailed in the plan. I can send you a copy of the plan, Trustee King. It's a big binder, but I'll get a copy of it for you and I can provide it to you. In regards to the relationship with HPD, we know our role and they know their role. You know, so we've had multiple conversations. We meet regularly. Mr. Suarez, who's retired HPD, is our point of contact. He has a very good relationship with the department. And we've had a couple situations that were false alarm type situations. We had one in Hammond High a couple years ago in 2019 where there was a picture on Facebook of someone who said they brought a gun to school, and HPD was there in a heartbeat. Like we know how to work together in these situations. We know our role, and I will just say HP knows their role.
The only thing I'll add is I don't know if you recall, but a couple years ago, Lake Central came in as an active shooter, and you had policemen from every part of the Northwest Indiana responding there. And although that's good, it causes confusion because nobody knows who's in charge or who's going in what door. Some people are in plain clothes, some people are in uniform. So yes, we've had many conversations about that very thing since then. So
thank you. Okay. Ms. King, is that good? Okay. Yes, sir. Oh. Hey, Bear. Council.
This is just connected to the coordination between HPD and the School City Hammond. This was probably about 2 or 3 months ago, and Dean, if you can get ready to chime in, I appreciate it. But we had residents reach out about traffic around a couple of our schools and the threat to students because of speeding traffic, people blowing through stop signs, and even just congestion around pickup and drop-off times. So we conducted a meeting with Officer Suarez, Dean, the city engineer, and then there were some other representatives in there from the school city and from engineering, as well as from, Dean, what's the consulting group?
First Group Engineering.
First Group Engineering, where the plan was to conduct a traffic study around Burns Hicks Elementary, and then also look into traffic patterns around Morton and Kenwood. Dean, can you give us an update on that traffic study, if it's completed, and what we can look forward to in terms of conversations over the summer?
I'm thrilled that you asked, Councilman Tyler. I had a meeting just this afternoon with our very consultant, First Group Engineering, and we reflected on a number of issues related to Burns Hicks Elementary and Kenwood School. And so we have some ideas. There's a number of alternatives that we can take forward. There's some suggested changes in traffic patterns. Parent, I don't want to say behavior, but parents' activities as they come to collect their children seems to be the most problematic part of that in terms of how we move traffic, right? Because the parents want to park and leave their car early. They don't want to be late to pick up their child or their grandchild. They come to the building, and then the streets are crowded. And so we have some really excellent ideas that I think we're ready to move forward with. I want to talk to the administration to make sure that they're happy with what we're proposing, and certainly the police department, but we're a long way. We got all that work done before school was out, and we're happy to go further with this.
All right, thanks, Dean. All right, let's go ahead. Hi.
There is an excessive amount of semi-truck traffic coming down side streets off of Calumet Avenue, down Highland and Lyons Street to Columbia Avenue. Are
Agree.
there any other
Agree.
Are there any other complaints in any other neighborhoods? These trucks are tearing up new streets and curbs.
Yep, agree. I work there. It's ridiculous. You see semis going right down a residential street. Hate it. Makes me insane. You know, I can't pull them over because it's against the law, but I wish I could. I know that I constantly give complaints to the police department and they follow them up, but usually by the time they get a message that there's a semi going down Lyons between Calumet and Columbia, by the time they get there, it's already gone. That's the frustrating thing. But Jeff, you get this complaint. By the way, you've been, Chief Short's not here today, and Jeff's gotten about 20 questions. So. We should just get you a mic and clip it to your uniform.
It should just be clipped on. The first part of that conversation, are there other neighborhoods that we get that complaint from? The answer is absolutely, particularly down by Goslin, Chicago area down there, Sheffield, Wabash, all those streets. But like you said, when we get the complaint, by the time we get there, it's gone. So we do send officers out. We get complaints on 129th. That's the one you talk about all the time.
That's what I
so
talk about, right.
We do the best we can, and I appreciate the fact that many might not believe that, but we really do. Trucks tear up the streets. Speeders cause accidents. We want to catch those people. So
if you saw a truck and you were a patrol officer driving down the street, do they automatically just pull them over if they see a semi where they're not supposed to be?
I would love to tell you yes, but the answer is probably not yes all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Traffic officers are more likely to do that because that's their job. They know the rules better than the average patrol officer, but it is something that we're always looking for, I can promise you that. So.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Absolutely.
And especially if it's bad on the highway, and then those semis are going through our city, and then it gets bad on Calumet, and they want to jump off Calumet and go to the next street. It gets crazy. Ms. King?
That was one of my questions. I literally sit on my front porch.
Yes, ma'am.
And I could be napping, and the truck come by, boom. And I've talked to Councilman Tyler about this, and he and I are working on something. If I can even get the license plates, they're right on me. They come on, they're tearing up my neighbor's curves. We have brand new streets. The streets have been there, 2 or 3 years. I'd be willing to do that. Budweiser is a big
Really?
polluter. I mean, constantly.
Do you have a Ring doorbell? It would be interesting if we saw a truck that we could identify as coming from a place. That would be really interesting.
Okay.
But
I could do that.
I know I work right by where you live.
Yes.
It's ridiculous. I see it. It makes me crazy. I can't do anything about it in my car, but by the time we get to PD.
If I got a plate number. Okay. Thank you. I could do that. I'm retired.
Thank you. No, it's crazy. I agree.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, I have another police issue. Chief Long, can you talk a little bit about, I know we've gotten a lot of complaints, and I've talked to Chief Short about park patrolling and kicking people out at dusk and music and all those sorts of things. Can you just touch on your guys' approach to managing our parks across the city?
Actually, you know what? Why don't I go to Jimmy on this one, if you don't mind? Jim, do you mind grabbing the microphone? The thing, and I appreciate the question, Barry, we revamped the park permit system because the way we used to do business is that we'd rent out a park, it would be a huge party, and if things got out of control, the parks would sort of go, okay, police, it's your problem now. And what we've done through the park system is try to control it so that we don't rely on the police department to break up large gatherings. So we went through a new permitting process that I think hopefully will take care of the problem that Councilman Tyler is talking about. So.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. We did do a different permit for people that want to rent out parks, and we have different categories based on the amount of people that are going to be at that event. And if it is a big event, it has to go through a park board to be approved. What we've also done to work with the police is every Friday they get all the events that are happening in the parks, so they are aware. We're still doing our permitting, and we're trying to post permits out in the parks. So if somebody's in a shelter and they're supposed to have 30 people there and there's 150 people there, the police will be aware of those things. So that's one of the ways that we are controlling it. There's a couple of parks where we actually station part-time park employees that'll make the police aware if there's a situation. That's MLK and Hessville, because they both have splash pads. So we have people that are there picking up and helping out in the parks.
A lot of thought went into this system about, because we have different types of gatherings. We have like family get-togethers where there's 25, 30 people. It's relatively low profile. It's no alcohol, like no loud music or anything. So we have those types of permits. And then we have the larger gathering types of permits. And then the permits that have alcohol, music, things like that, totally separate category. And what we're trying to do is accommodate the smallest of parties so that it's not impossible to rent a space. But if you're planning on having alcohol and things of that nature, making sure excise is involved, making sure that, somebody else is policing. Like, if there's booze being served in a park, it needs to go through excise. We do that for the Festival of the Lakes. So when we have these large gatherings with flowing alcohol, that is illegal. We're not taking responsibility for that. We're going to let excise come in and handle that. So it depends on the type of gathering we're talking about. And I think a lot of really good thought has been put into that. Kevin, could you mention something about that also? I know that we compared to best practices of like Wicker Park. I know Trustee Santos, and what they do at Wicker Park and what other communities do as well. So we modeled it after them as well.
Sure, Mayor, thank you. Yes, I know that Jim and his staff were tasked with kind of looking around at other communities and the township on what they did with their park permits, because we didn't want to be the cheaper alternative. We wanted to be consistent and with both in price and requirements. One of the things that you suggested, and I think was also applicable in other communities around the area, were deposits. Because deposits make you, I think, all of a sudden you become more responsible when you want your money back that you put down as your deposit. So now there's a deposit, and as long as you play by the rules and don't have any problems.
We're not looking to keep your deposit.
No, we're happy to refund it right away. But it's there now as an extra kind of, it has some teeth now in the permitting process that says if you're going to use the park and use it responsibly, thank you, come back and get your deposit. If you leave a bunch of garbage around and you destroy the park and you throw out your charcoal right on the grass and don't clean up, guess what? You're going to lose your deposit. And hopefully that helps.
Right. So.
Kevin, I'll also, Mayor, it helps when we hear from the community too. If you see something that helps, we just had a situation just earlier today where somebody was selling things in a park that was not allowed, and the police just went over and took care of it. So that definitely helps when you call, and it's an extra set of eyes for us.
Absolutely. And I know recently, okay, so thank you, I appreciate you bringing that up. Yes, sir.
Yes, good evening. You say if you're giving a gathering 25, 30 people, but by everyone knowing everyone, and they just come in,
yes, sir.
Do you shut them down because
exactly, Paul.
They know?
We're really reasonable on that, okay? But if you said, I'm going to have a gathering with 25 people, and there's 250 people, and you say my gathering's not going to have music or booze, and there's a lot of people drinking music and playing music, drinking beer and playing music, then it's the reason is we want the police officers to know what to expect, and if it's completely drastically different. If you say I'm going to have 25 people and you have 27 people, we're not going to shut you down, Paul, okay? But it's just to get us ready for what happens. But a lot of times people would say, oh, it's just a small little gathering, and there'd be hundreds of people out there. And what happens is it puts the officer on the street in a horrible position because they have to clean up that mess. And if they have to clean out a park or something, we're putting our officers in a position to fail. We don't want to be the heavy hand clearing out a park, you know? That's why Kevin was talking about, you know, we didn't want to be the low-cost alternative. We found a lot of communities, a lot of people from other communities were coming here because we were the cheapest. We don't want to be the cheapest anymore. And at the same time, you know, a deposit, you know? If you're going to have a large gathering and you have a deposit and it gets out of control, you may not get that deposit back. No,
There is an additional out-of-state fee, yes, Paul. Yep. I think for the smaller groups, there's an out-of-state fee. The other thing I was going to mention is, and this was a request by the police because it helps them, is to make, and this is something that we're starting, is that you have to post your permit or have it with you. And the permit now has a lot more information on it so that the police know, oh, this is a small gathering, or this is not supposed to have a DJ, or you're not supposed to have any alcohol. So it helps the police understand. It's easier for them to say, look, it's right here on the permit, versus before they'd roll up, they'd say, you know, what do you have? You're not supposed to have alcohol. Oh yeah, the park board told us we could, or the park department said we could. Now it's all right in front of them, and we hope that that also helps with enforcement.
Thanks, Kevin. Okay, thanks.
On the topics of park, there is a concern regarding parking in MLK Park on Tapper,
Yep.
not having additional
Okay.
parking.
I know there's a lot of people that live in that neighborhood in this room. I also consider myself a person that watches MLK Park very closely. I have pet peeves. You can't park in the cut-in parking spots. You can't stay there after dark. Can't be there during, you know, and I'm a pain in the butt with the police department. If I see people violating, I'm one to call. I know that there's a proposal to talk about cutout parking on Tapper, and I know a lot of people are parking illegally on Tapper, blocking people in, parking on the sidewalk. I see what's going on. Jim, do you have anything you want to add to that talk a little bit about that part of the project? I know it's something Councilman Tyler and I have been talking about as well. So.
I think you were talking about that before I came in, the Tapper project, or the
Yeah,
street?
it was before you came in, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Dean? Okay, grab a microphone.
Sure.
All right, what do you got?
We have a project that's in design.
Okay,
That was
there you
part
go.
of phase 3 of the MLK Park project, right?
Yeah.
You did a fantastic job of what was done.
MLK Park was packed today. I went by 3 parks before I came in here. I went to Edison. It was pretty hot, and there's no splash pad there. But Hessville Park, Grand Slam. MLK Park, Grand Slam. Slammed with people. It was awesome. Makes me happy as a mayor to see that.
So phase 3 is, what are we going to do at Tapper, right?
Right.
Because it sort of connects the park
It was
together.
supposed to be like the bump up, if I remember correctly.
still planning that,
So you
yeah.
like drive up, go up like that, and come down, and it's brick, if I remember correctly, or is it?
You know, I don't remember the solid surface.
Okay.
I think we have
But the bump
concrete
up
with
plus
some,
more
some
parking.
decorative.
It's parking, it's diagonal parking.
Diagonal parking.
Which
Yep.
will give us more parking. Right now, they're parking parallel, so they'd be parking diagonal, backing out into traffic, I imagine, right?
Yep.
It is very busy over there. I was there over the weekend, and there's a ton of people in the park, and they're parking on Tapper, and it's not clean, I acknowledge, but.
So we had a utility issue. We have to coordinate, give NIPSCO a place to put the power lines, and then we can move forward with going to bidding. And we just got that approved last week, Mayor.
Okay, Barry, you got something on that? No?
I was just going to ask Dean to talk a little bit about the pricing and how that's changed.
Yeah.
You know,
I
welcome
want you
to
to be the bearer of bad news, not me. That's fine.
Well, I don't remember the number offhand, but welcome to America in 2022. You know, there's a lot of federal funds out there. Hammond was a recipient of a $53 million grant to do outstanding projects, but all of those projects cost money, and the cost of doing business just keeps escalating. So we got in early. We did some projects that are fantastic projects downtown Hammond, Hessville Kennedy Avenue, and the new bridge over Calumet Avenue with the Little Calumet River. So all those projects are good. We got in early. We got some reasonably good pricing. So now it's going up. I want to say it's $800,000, which is not bad for a one block segment at this time. But
Yeah.
we'll know what the market bears.
But the original pricing when 2.5 years ago was 250,000.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
So it was
No, it was, from what I was told, the total was 250. So we've almost tripled.
Probably.
Welcome to America,
Yeah.
2022. Sorry.
All right.
There is a concern regarding police cars being well marked or should be well marked.
What's this now?
Police cars should be well marked.
Agree. Yeah, well, I mean, so like, detective cars are not marked.
Detective cars aren't marked, narcotics cars aren't marked. We do have some traffic units that have subtle markings. We do have some unmarked cars that are for traffic control. I don't think it's a shock to anybody that catching somebody speeding is easier when you're not in a marked squad car. So that's important. So I would say the majority of our cars are marked, but there are some that aren't.
What do you think, 85% of your cars are marked?
I'd say 80 to 85 is probably good, yes.
Yes, sir.
Mark, are you talking about the black SUVs where it got police on the side that you can't see unless you're right up on it?
That's included. That's called subtle markings, Paul, and it's because it's for traffic control mainly. Some of the, when you see those, it's also captains and or chief, assistant chief drive those kind of vehicles. But yes, we do have some of those.
When I ask that question, I think it should be a national question, not just a city of Hammond question. And because we have to look at, we as black men are being targeted. We are being hunted. So now, when this car pulls up that's unmarked, white guy jumps out, same tactical unit as the white supremacists have. Do I shoot first, ask questions later? I have 1 second to get it wrong. That police officer only has 1 second to get it wrong. Somebody don't go home. You say, well, the flashing lights. A couple of years ago, a guy had lights installed in his car, remember? Pulling people over, then robbing them. We need to know that this is a police vehicle, not a black SUV with something on the side that you cannot see.
Let me ask a question. Jeff, excuse me, the patrol cars that pull people over are all marked?
All marked, yes.
100%?
100%.
So if you're getting pulled over by a patrol officer, it's from a marked car?
Well, there's traffic cars that can pull you over too, and we do have a couple unmarked traffic cars, but they're in uniform. You have to be either in full uniform or a fully marked car to pull somebody over, one or the other.
Uniform.
Right.
When they're coming in their tactical gear,
I think,
gunning
honestly,
black
Paul,
men down, they're in full uniform.
I don't think this is a huge problem in Hammond. Honestly, I think that... Yes, sir.
So I think all these cars should be made visible where we know for sure that this is a police vehicle.
I agree with you.
So that's all I'm saying.
I appreciate it. I appreciate that. I agree with that. Thank you, Paul.
I was just going to ask the gentleman behind me here, I was going to, first of all, peace be with you. Can I ask you why you feel...
Hey, could you guys do this after the meeting if you don't mind? Yeah, you guys could have this conversation after if you don't mind. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm not trying to be rude. Yeah, thank you. I apologize. If that came off rude, I apologize. I agree with the question. I appreciate you. I know we just, I want to cover the questions if you don't mind, sir. Okay, thank you.
Can you give an update on downtown Hammond and the development?
Sure,
progress?
I'd love to. Who wants to do that? Downtown Hammond. Let's say Ann Anderson. She hasn't had to talk that much today. Where is she? Look it. I was looking on the wrong side. That's how little you talk today. Nice to see you, Ann.
Nice to be here, Mayor.
Sounds like a question about downtown Hammond is right in your wheelhouse.
Downtown Hammond, yep. So as mentioned before, we have a downtown train station that will be coming in a few years that has attracted a handful of residential developers to our downtown who will be redeveloping existing former bank buildings and office buildings and also building from ground up. So we will have people living in downtown for the first time in a long time.
Don't tell Raimundo Garcia that. He's the first person that lives in downtown.
That's true. We have one great resident.
He pointed that out.
Soon we'll have many, many, many more. Yes. Also happening right now is the Holman Avenue redesign project phase 1 from Sibley to Russell Street, and that is where we're giving Holman Avenue a much needed road diet in order to slow down traffic and make it more safe and walkable and welcoming for people to walk around and spend time in downtown. After that, we'll have phase 2 from Russell to Douglas Street. So train station, residential, new commercial, retail, hopefully new restaurants, and a redesign of our Main Street. That's a lot happening.
I'm going to have Phil add to that also. Hi, Phil.
Mayor, Good evening, everybody. Just one thing to add, because somebody asked about the train project earlier. We also finalized our transit development district, which includes the downtown Hammond area as well as around the Gateway Station. And the short version of this, I don't want to bore everybody, is we always had access to real and personal property taxes when we formed an allocation area, or what some people refer to as a tax increment financing area. But now we'll have access to income taxes because of the new law that was created by the state. So that should help also with pushing development in downtown Hammond. It's a tool we've never had in the past, and hopefully you'll continue to see some new development beyond the one that Ann just brought up to everybody.
Cool. Any more questions, Eileen?
Last one.
All right, let's do it.
Any future plans for the lakefront that include any apartments or condos?
Oh, that's a great question. We were just talking about this within the last couple weeks. It's a limited area. Mylan, are you in here? I imagine you are. Oh, hi, Jill. That's why you're here, huh? You want to take it, Jill, or you want Kevin to take it? Kevin, why don't you take it? You're attorney for the port.
Dean keeps turning this off, or Phil does. Mayor, I think the question was, were there going to be any apartments or condos contemplated?
On the lakefront.
Was it about Clark High or on the lakefront?
No, on the lakefront.
On the lakefront.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about the area in and around the marina or the data center area, the data center, no. There's no contemplated residential development at the data center property. That's all commercial and data center related development. It's privately owned. The area in and around the marina, there's a conservation easement where it's called the bird sanctuary. I guess we call it kind of colloquially. Anyway, that's where that's under a permanent environmental easement. You can't do anything with that area. And really the only area that would be up for development around there would be that parking lot and potentially over on the other side near the Amtrak station, which also is privately held. So there's not really any current developers knocking the door down to develop the areas up there, is the short answer.
Okay, thank you, Kev. Any other follow-ups on that? Yeah.
For the beach in Hammond?
Good question. Yeah, I know actually. I know one of the lifeguards out there very well. I think they're full. Last I heard, at the Hammond Marina, at the beach there, which is a great beach to go swimming if you have little kids and family. But yeah, they're actually full because at the Port Authority they pay a good wage.
Well, good. As soon as the water warms up, I'll go up there and go swimming.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. So, all right. By the way, Mayor's Night, besides the great audience we have here, there was literally the entire Mayor's Night. There was 70, 80 people watching the entire time. So thanks for being part of this.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
left.
Oh, hey, Jeff. Smitty.
Construction.
This is the Hammond Fire Chief, Jeff Smith.
Construction season, fireworks season.
Yeah. We just had a fire last night from fireworks, right?
We did. We did.
Wanna talk
So I just
about
wanted
it?
to give
Or you're
update
just
on
gonna
that.
have should we picture it, or you want to talk about it?
I will, after I give the fireworks laws.
Yeah,
that
the
that
fireworks.
the person violated.
Really?
Yes. So it's on your property, not on your neighbor's property unless they give you permission, not in a park, not in the middle of the street, not at a roofing company parking lot either, like last night.
Really? So they went in a roofing company parking lot,
It
saw
was,
fireworks, and then burned down the roofing company.
There was significant damage to the roofing company, probably over $1 million.
Do they know who was shooting off the fireworks?
They do, and Sergeant Mickey had a nice little conversation with that gentleman today.
Yeah, I hope
and
they
he
have
was-
good insurance.
He was cited. Yeah, I'm not sure how that's going to work out for Mr. Gluth, but it was Randy Gluth Brothers' property, and Randy rented it out to somebody on also, so it was one of his tenants.
Okay.
So, but the fight, you want to give me the hours?
Yeah.
Okay. Between the hours of 5 p.m. and 2 hours after sunset on June 29th, June 30th, July 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. Between the hours of 10 a.m. and midnight on the 4th. So, like I said, you need to get permission from your neighbor, permission from someone that owns a lot or something, but you're not supposed to do it in the middle of the street, in the middle of the park, on your neighbor's park or property. So, and last year, ironically, we had a fire at a fireworks store.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Nice.
that was a good time.
I'm anti-firework personally. I can't believe they're legal. don't shoot them off anymore. I used to shoot them off, and then one year a gentleman was doing a display for his family, and he looked over because it didn't go up, and it blew his head off. And I said, that's enough for me. He was shooting off the same thing that we were shooting off, and I figured I don't need to do this anymore. I don't need to participate. But it is legal in the state of Indiana. This goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the new gun law. It's the governor and the state fire marshal made a deal with the General Assembly, and fireworks are completely legal here. So there's nothing the local city could do about it other than they give us the dates. If they're shooting it off outside of those dates, we can technically cite them. That's all we could do. Yes, sir.
What are the consequences, and how will the police enforce the law?
Okay. I could tell you honestly, it's hard to enforce it because it's being violated so many times. But what are the consequences? Chief Long, you're like the star of the show today.
I can tell you that if the fireworks are set off on other dates that other than he gave or the times, they're issued an ordinance ticket. And as Sergeant Mickey and I found out today, that even though there's significant damage, the most we can do is issue that ordinance ticket. And the only way it makes it arrestable is if he's had that same ticket within the last 5 years. So his second violation becomes an A misdemeanor, and then we can arrest him. So unfortunately, he's only going to get a ticket because there was no intent. So that's the problem with charging him something criminally. So with the ticket, but we don't set the judge will decide how much that is going to be. So Kelly, do you happen to know what the fine can be up to? $2,500. Okay.
It's up to $2,500. Yeah, up to $2,500, but it's up to the judge, sir.
Yeah, that won't happen probably, you know,
Right.
but yeah.
Right. Thank you guys. Oh, hi, Sharon.
College bound deadline,
Yes.
July 1st. Get the applications in, hard, fast deadline. City Hall closes 4:30, July 1st.
Okay. Also, CDL drivers, if you're interested in working for the city of Hammond, we have open spots. If you have young people that are interested in becoming a Hammond police officer or firefighters, I suggest a good route to do that is going through the correction officer program. We're looking for qualified applicants all the time. We do have good jobs open, so.
Come see me.
Sharon works in personnel on the first floor of City Hall. It's 853-6501. Councilman, thanks for the hosting tonight. Good to see you.
Thanks for having us. And Scott, thanks for having us here at Hammond
Thank you,
Central.
Superintendent Scott.
I do want to touch on just a couple more quick things, or have other people touch on those. Africa, you know I was coming to you. Can you just kind of give us a quick update about the Columbia Avenue fence project? I got a few questions about that today, especially given that there was some graffiti spray painted over the weekend on part of that fence too.
So it's funny you said that because I just reached out to them yesterday and then tried to follow up with them today because I know that they were working on the project. One of the things that stalled the project is that the previous project had some curbing that was a little further down than what they anticipated, so they had to get a special machine from it. I know that his crews are a little short, but he said, I actually met with him a couple of weeks ago, and the owner said that he's gonna go out and he's gonna get an additional crew to try to hurry up and complete the project, at least the first part of it, as much as possible. So I'm expecting him to start again in the next couple of days, but because I don't know exactly why it stopped at this point, but I'm expecting him to start and complete it fairly soon. He was going along pretty well, and then all of a sudden it seemed like it stopped. But I have talked to him. I'm talking to him regularly. He understands the importance of this project, the importance of it to the residents. So anytime he runs into a snag, he does contact me. It's just taking a little longer than what we anticipated.
Thank you. Then the last thing, Owana, if you can just shed some more light on, I know we have a Juneteenth celebration coming up this weekend.
point.
We'd love for the public to have some more information about that. Thanks.
Juneteenth celebration will take place, can you hear me? Will take place on Sunday, June the 19th from 2 to 4. We have some informational booths, we have some giveaways, we have some refreshments for everyone. It's going to be on Sunday, which is the same day as Father's Day, which is an excellent way to celebrate both holidays. So we welcome everyone to come out, MLK Park, 2 o'clock until 4 o'clock. Thank you.
Thanks, Juana. Thanks, Councilman. City Hall's closed for Juneteenth on Monday, by the way. I think this is the 3rd year in a row we've celebrated Juneteenth. We were celebrating it before it was a national holiday, so that's on Monday. And Paul? Yeah.
That fence that they're putting up, what is it made of?
It's composite. And that was a tricky project because it's a right-of-way that we're building on people's property. So we had to get permission from every homeowner along Columbia Avenue, and we finally cleared up the last homeowner that was holding the whole project up, and we're cruising through now. I know it's not going as fast, but I know that all obstacles have been cleared out of the way. But it is a heavier composite as compared to the last wall that was built there, sir. So, anyway, great to see you all. Thanks for Superintendent Miller and Hammond Central Wolves for hosting us today. Thanks to all the residents for coming out to Mayor's Night Out, 3rd District. As we said earlier, next Mayor's Night is Wednesday, September 14th in the 4th District. Thank you, everybody, and talk to you later.